Hi dear student, this is Naveed Khan, your mathematics teacher. In our previous class we had some discussion about definite integral, and now today we will solve application of definite integrals. Okay, so here we will find out consumer surplus and producer surplus. Okay, so here we will solve one example related to a definite integral. So now in this example, this is page number 681. In this example, the demand equation for a product is P is equal to 100 minus 0.05 Q. This is the demand equation, okay, where P represents the price and Q denotes by units, Q units. And the supply equation is also given by P is equal to 100 plus 0.1 Q, okay. This is the first equation is for the demand equation, and the second equation is for the supply equation. Okay, so here we need to find out the consumer surplus, the second is producer surplus, and for this we first of all we need to find out the equilibrium point. Okay, so here 3 points are very important. So we need to find out the consumer surplus, then we need to find out the producer surplus, but for this we need to find out the equilibrium point for supply and demand equation. So what is equilibrium point? Equilibrium point means that where demand and supply equation both are same. When the demand and supply both will become same, that point is called equilibrium point. Okay, so let's have a look for a solution. Let's suppose if we denote P naught and Q naught, the equilibrium point, first we find the equilibrium point P naught and Q naught. Okay, so we will solve both the equation. So we know that the first equation is demand equation, and the second equation is a supply equation. So if we see the question, both the equations, the left hand side of the equation is same. This is P and this is P. The left hand sides of both the equations are same P, so the right hand side must be same. Okay, so now in this step I wrote down the right hand side. Both the right hand side of the equations is equal to 10 plus 0.1 Q is equal to 100 minus 0.05 Q. Now in this step, this is plus 1 plus 10, it will move to other side, it will become minus 10. Okay, so for example, look at here, it will become 0.01 Q, and this is minus 0.05, it will move to other side. So this is minus, so it will become plus 0.05 Q is equal to it will become 100 minus 10. Okay, so 0.01 plus 0.5, this is 0.1 0.1 Q plus 0.05 Q, so the answer will become 0.0 Q, 0.015 Q is equal to 90 degree. Okay, we need to find out the value of Q, so dividing both sides by, this implies that 0.15 Q is equal to 90, and then we need to find out the value of Q, so it will become divided by 0.15, and here will also become 0.15. okay, so now after calculation, so the value of Q is equal to 600. Okay, now how to find, this is the value of Q, we represented by Q naught, so Q naught is equal to 600. Okay, just just remember that we need to find out the equilibrium point. So for this Q is equal to 600, we need to find out the value of P. So put the value of Q in equation 1 or in equation 2. Okay, so P is equal to, let's suppose I put Q is equal to 600 in supply equation. 10 plus 0 0.1, in place of Q I put here 600. So the final answer will become 70. Okay, it means that Q naught is equal to 600 and P naught is equal to 70. So these are our this is our equilibrium point. Okay, so equilibrium point, it will become Q naught and P naught. So it will become 600 and the value of P naught is 70. Okay, so now my dear student, here now this is equilibrium point 670, where both in this point where supply and demand equation both are same. Now we need to find out the consumer surplus. So for the consumer surplus, the formula which we have is definite integral from 0 to Q naught. Okay, here will be demand equation minus P naught. Okay, this is demand equation, D, demand equation minus P naught. So demand equation which we have is here, this is demand equation minus P naught. So now if we see this one, this is demand equation minus P naught, means that the value of P, which is 70. And now what about the 600? This is the value of Q naught. So now after this, this is 100 minus 70, so it will become 0 to 600. 100 minus 70, it will become 30 into D of Q. Just apply separate integration on both the terms, and here will become 0 to 600, 0.05 Q into D of Q. Okay, so my dear student, here this is plus 30, this is the constant term, it will go outside from integration 30, and definite integral from 0 to 600, here will become 1. Now this is also a constant coefficient, it will go outside, minus 0.05, and integration of Q into D of Q. Okay, now in this step the integration of 1 is equal to Q, and integration of Q, it is equal to Q square divided by 2. Okay, now what is the next step? In the next step, here in this step, at place of Q we have to put the upper limit, then minus at place of Q we have to put the lower limit, minus 0.05. Here again at place of Q we have to put the upper limit, minus at place of Q we will put the lower limit, which is 0. Okay, so now my dear student, after calculation, here the value of the consumer surplus, it will become 900. Okay, now dear student, here now in our previous slide we have done consumer surplus, but here in this slide we will find out producer surplus. Okay, so the formula, so first of all I need a pen, this is pen, and here it will become okay. Now my dear students, here we need to find out the producer surplus. The formula which we have is 0 to Q naught, here will become P naught minus supply equation. So from 0 to 600, because 600 is the value of P naught, Q naught, here will become P naught minus, here is supply equation. So the value of P naught is equal to say 70, so it will become 0 to 600, 70 minus 10, and minus 0 0.1 Q into d of Q. Okay, so here it will become 70 minus 10, it will become 60, and here will become 0.1 Q. So now 60, it will move to outside, here will be only 1 inside the integration, definite integral from 0 to 600 minus the constant, the coefficient, it will move to outside, minus 0.1, and definite integral from 0 to 600 Q into d of Q. Okay, and we know that the integration of Q is equal to 1 is equal to Q. So here I wrote here Q, and here will become integration of Q, it will become Q square divided by 2. Okay, now here in this step, at place of Q, first we have to put the upper limit minus, and at place of Q we have to put the lower limit. The same like in the second term, at place of Q square, here we have Q square, so at place of Q we will put the upper limit, which is 600 minus, and in place of Q we have to put the lower limit. Okay, so after solving this step, second last, so after calculation we have the answer of the producer surplus is equal to 18,000. Okay, therefore the consumer surplus is equal to 9,000, and the producer surplus is equal to $18,000. Okay, thank you very much, my dear student, and